Do you cringe when you think about homeschool planning? Maybe you're one of those people that you can always find 5 or 6 other things to do rather than homeschool planning, like maybe, give the cat a bath. Right? So what's your hang up? Seriously. Mine personally was for a long time, I just couldn't find a big enough chunk of time to do this. I couldn't find that 3 days solid to lay out all the materials and do all the planning, right? I just never could find the time. Maybe yours is, it's just so hard to think about anything beyond this week, beyond right now, right? Or maybe you are one of those that you hate to plan ahead because you want to be flexible. You want to always be ready for what's coming, right? And be able to seize the day kind of thing. Well, guess what? Today, I am going to share with you some easy ways to get homeschool planning off your to-do list. Seriously, I have got tips and tricks, and even we're going to go to some actual forms, if you will, some spreadsheets, that sort of thing that help you in your planning, get you some ideas in that category. And we are going to go today from that excuse swamp, right, to the beautiful dry land that is the check it off done box. So the key to homeschool planning in a successful, easy way would be starting with the right mindset. That's right. It is all about how you approach planning. And I'll tell you what, the biggest mistake that people make when they come to this is the way they approach it because of where they approach it from. In other words, people always want to start with that 1 week plan. And yeah, we get through the maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month, and then we can't go any farther. We're just totally bogged down, totally stuck on this, and we just can't go past right now, okay? I'm saying totally shift that. Turn it around, re-engineer it, and say, nope, I'm going to start with the farthest away planning, the distant plan, and I'm going to work my way in so that I go from the simplest plan to the most complex plan rather than the other way around. I mean, think about this. So when you go on vacation, right, do you start out with the very first thing you do is start making a packing list of all the things that the kids need to have in their suitcases? No. You start out by saying, where would we like to go on vacation? And then it becomes, okay, if we go on vacation there, maybe how much is it going to cost and do we need to save some money for it? Then it becomes, where are we going to stay? Then it becomes, what will we do while we're there? And so on until finally at the very end, you get down to, and what are we going to need to have in our suitcases, right? That is how you plan something naturally. But in homeschooling, we just tend to turn that around because we're in the middle of it, right? So I'm talking about going from a 5-year plan to a 1-year plan to a semester plan, to a monthly, and then finally to a weekly plan. Now I'm going to break all of these down for you. So do not panic on me and say, oh my gosh, that's so much planning. No. It really isn't, because each one feeds into the next one, because you're going from the simplest to the most complex, which is the logical way to do planning. So I want to start out by talking about that 5-year plan, because that's the one that people just look at me in horror and go, oh, 5 years. I can't do 5 years out. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Okay. Now, first thing I want to say about a 5-year plan is that you're going to review the 5-year plan once a year. Okay. Try to make it the same time of year every time. Like August was always my month for doing that. And then you're going to, of course, at the same time, add whatever that next year is. So that's always 5 years out, right? Now, why do you need a 5-year plan in the first place? Why do you want to start there? Because that 5-year plan is like your beacon when you get really down in the weeds, okay? When life just throws you for a loop and homeschooling completely falls apart, This is how you stop from hyperventilating. This is how you stop from freaking out and giving up and burning out. Seriously, okay? So I'm going to give you an example of the kind of thing I'm talking about. Here in Michigan, there's a town that just recently, last week, was subject to some massive flooding. They had not one, not two, 3 dams burst on this town, 9 feet of water in a good deal of the town. I mean, people evacuated at a moment's notice. They had no time to cart out, the bins of books and curriculum, right? Homeschool families literally were able to leave with just some clothing, maybe, and their lives, okay? So in a situation like that, now you're in a homeless shelter, right? Because where else are they going to put you? You're in some kind of shelter. You can't go home. You don't even know when you'll be able to get in. Odds are everything in your home is destroyed. Could be months before life gets back to normal. And in that time, homeschooling is just like not on your radar, or at least if it is, it's a very limited form, okay? Life hits you sideways. A lot of people in that situation are going to go, that's it. We're done homeschooling. I give up. I quit. This is just too much. No, it is not too much. And I'll tell you what, the most valuable lesson you're going to give your kids during that period of time is how you deal with the crisis, because they're going to walk alongside it with you. But I'm just saying, if you have a 5-year plan and something like that happens to you, you can take a moment, you can pause, you can look at that 5-year plan and go, okay, we have 5 years to do this. We can make changes, we can adapt, we can throw in some extra work in the summers. We can do this. It's going to be okay. And you can keep going, okay? Because the 5-year plan is not some big convoluted thing. No, remember I said we start simple. It's just a big picture subject plan. It's just an overview of what subjects should I be doing with my 3rd grader or 4th grader or 5th grader? What do I want to do with them, right? That's it. So now I want to stop and take a look at an actual 5-year plan that I use. So here we are with an actual sample 5-year plan. This is actually one of my 5-year plans. This is from back when my oldest child was in 5th grade, and this is his 5-year plan. Notice we have, of course, going down the side here, we have all the subjects, and then across the top, you have the 5 grades that we're dealing with. Now, mind you, remember, this is from 5th grade, so this is projecting outward what I would like to accomplish. Notice that I don't have any specific curriculum listed in here. Like in math, for example, yes, I have the various skill areas that we'd be working in, but I didn't actually plug in the fact that, yeah, I was pretty sure I was going to use Matthew C because that's what I've been using. But I did use the categories from their scope and sequence. So just saying on that one. For other things, I tried to stay very general, just getting into, like in history, the various epochs that we'd be studying. But I do have an exception to this. When you get down here to Christian studies, yeah, I did plug in titles. This was mostly a placeholder for me because I knew I wanted the child to read these books, and I really thought that this would be 7th, 8th, 9th grade, the right time to do it. And I didn't want to forget the titles, which, you know, you have to have the reminders going on there. So that's what happened there. But this is just a generalized plan. And notice every single hole is not filled. I mean, in this case, in social studies in 5th grade, I really didn't have an idea of what I wanted him to do in 6th or 7th grade. So I just left those blank and actually did fill them in as we went further along. But this was just really a placeholder for me, the 5-year plan, trying to keep me in mind of where we're headed and what we want to accomplish. And that's it. Okay, we got that 5-year plan all figured out. So now we move to the next level, which is going to be the 1-year plan, which, by the way, of course, you're going to sit down and work on this yearly because it's a 1-year plan, right? So after you do that quick overview of the 5-year plan, then you're going to go right to the 1-year plan. Now, the 1-year plan really starts to flesh out the 5-year plan. In other words, you've got to have the 5-year plan handy to see where you're headed, right? But it starts to flesh it out. And it starts to do that by adding in curriculum, okay? What your curriculum options are going to be for those courses. Now, why do you need to start figuring that out a year ahead of time? Because you need time to research the materials you want to use. There will be some things that you can just say, yep, just know I want to use those. But there will be other things that you want to be able to take the time to figure out what materials would be best, what's going to work best for this child, okay? What's going to work best for the time that we have allotted, for how much time we want to spend on this subject. Whatever it is, you need time to research, okay? And by the way, when I say curriculum in this one-year plan, I'm not talking about narrowing it down to that 2 or 3 specific books that you want to teach this specific topic in history. No, I'm talking about general curriculum. So in other words, on your one-year plan, you can look at math and say, okay, what curriculum do we want to use? Oh, we want to stick with Math UC. Okay, and that's what goes in that little box in the one-year plan. Now you know in your one-year plan that you need to figure out, okay, which Math UC books are going to be right for this child for this year, okay? So just like we did in the 5-year plan, let's go take a look at an actual one-year plan. As you can see, this one-year plan is now building out on the 5-year plan. We have the subjects that he's going to be studying this year, but they are directly off of pretty much the 5-year plan. Then I get into the resources. This is where this starts to differ from the 5-year plan, because now we're starting to get more specific. I tried to list out resources that I knew we were going to use. Did this mean these were all the resources? No. Did this mean though these were resources that were like absolute must-haves? Yeah, totally. And by the way, I call them resources, not curriculum, because we get down to things down here like woodshop. Mr. Sherman is not a textbook. Mr. Sherman is one of our neighbors. So I liked the title resources better than curriculum to explain that one. But it's just giving me, like I say, the idea of the things that I wanted to use. And then I get over here to the plan category. This adds in a little bit of keeping me again on track as mom. Essentially down here like in logic. What's the point of the logic that we're doing this year? Oh yeah, mental problem solving and spatial puzzles. That was the idea. Or about in science, continue our studies, but add astronomy this year. These are things that I just wanted to add in to remind me what we're going to do, to remind me that this one-year plan has indeed a plan behind it. This is not just pulling subjects in and resources. So that then if something happened during the year and we got sidetracked or something else came up, I could again look at this and say, okay, down here, for example, in logic, suppose we missed a month of doing the exercises in critical thinking activities. Okay, but did we cover a sufficient amount to call this plan completed? Yeah, I would probably have said yes. But you see, that's just it. This is, again, to keep you on track, these more distant plans. This is not a weekly plan. It's just keeping you on track. Okay, so we got done with the 5-year and the 1-year. Now we're going to the next level of complexity, and that would be what I like to call the semester plan, okay? Although it doesn't matter whether you do semesters, which is basically 2 sections of schoolwork a year, or trimesters, that would be 3, or quarters, that would be breaking it up into 4 blocks of time during the school year. Doesn't matter, we're just going to call it the semester plan. And by the way, you're going to be working on the next semester as you are in the current semester. So in other words, when you get into the beginning of the first semester, you are going to sit down and plan the next semester to make sure that you're always a semester ahead. So I did trimesters. So if I'm in trimester 1, I'm planning 2. If I'm in 2, I'm planning 3. If I'm 3, I'm going back to planning 1 for the next year. So I'm just always a step ahead. Now, why do you need a semester plan? Because we know a monthly plan is coming, right? We've already got a 1-year plan. Well, this is the one where you're going to make sure you have all your materials, okay? And because this is the one that's close enough to what you're actually doing to make sure that, yes, we are actually going to need that curriculum in the next semester. A good example is like math. Suppose that you're getting through that Algebra 1 book and your child is just like breezing through it. Who knew they were a math math genius, right? Okay, but you suddenly discover you're going to get through that Algebra 1 book way faster than you thought. So now you need the Algebra 2 book, and next semester you're going to want to move into Algebra 2, even though originally you had thought Algebra 1 was going to take all year, okay? It just gives you that opportunity to adjust and to say, okay, this is the situation that we're currently in. So now we need to make sure we have all the right materials. So what exactly is going to go into the semester plan? It's actually going to go on that piece of paper that you've got this planned out on. You're going to have a resource list for every course. Obviously, you're going to list all of the courses that you're going to take, that you're going to be teaching, right? And then you're going to add in one more fun little thing. You're going to add in time estimates for each course. So in other words, do we want to do this course once a week or 3 times a week or every day, right? And how much time's got to be devoted to it, so that then you can look at that semester and say, okay, yes, we have time to do all these things, and maybe we want to add in some outside activities. Now we know we have time to do it, okay? It's just lining things out so that you're sure that you're prepared before you get there. So now, just like with the last 2, let's go look at an actual semester plan. Now, I know we're calling this the semester plan, but this one is actually first trimester plan for my oldest son in 5th grade, because we just did the trimester program pretty much through the school year. So looking at this, the first thing that you're going to come up with, obviously, is that, wow, we've added in something totally new here. We've got what day of the week we're going to be studying this subject and the daily time required. This is super helpful because it just gives you that big overlook on the semester view to say, okay, what do we got going on Mondays? How about Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays? You know, it just gives you that big overview, okay? Now, you'll notice something really interesting. We have co-op on Tuesdays. Did that take all day? No. Did that blow us out for the rest of the day? Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, that was like the rest of the day we had off when we weren't in co-op. It was just a day of rest and regather, pretty much. But I was able to see that really clearly when I look at the schedule. And again, plotting in the times just kept me real. It reminded me that, oh yeah, when we do science on Thursdays, that's going to take a couple of hours, which means our other subjects in this category, which happens to be, by the way, group study, they're just not going to happen. So it helped me to be realistic with that. Now, going on into these other columns, I do have some resources. Mostly the resource information that I put into the semester plan has to do with if there were multiple resources that I had listed out for that particular year in that particular subject. Like in this case, Michigan history. We're starting with the Bruce Catton book that I wanted to use, the Michigan history book. Just reminding myself, oh yeah, that's where we were going to start. Coming down here into science. Oh yeah, this was going to be a semester of nature walks because the first semester the weather would be fine for it. So that was going to be our emphasis. Those are the kind of notes that I would put over here. And then into the actual notes category here. Yes, anything that we did in group study, meaning all of my children did it together, I was going to highlight that because that was really important for me to keep that perspective. The rest of these notes, sometimes it will be just reminding me that, oh yeah, mom is going to be assigning the personal reading for this semester, or up in Latin. This was really helpful to me, always keeping this in mind that, oh yeah, flashcards with mom first before he started his independent study in Latin. What that reminded me was that, oh yeah, every day when we got done with our group study time, then the first thing I'm going to want to do is Latin flashcards with this child, because then it's over with. It's done. I didn't forget about it, and he didn't have to wait for me to get around to it. So it was just taken care of. So this semester plan, as you can see, it really starts to flesh things out. As we move on into the monthly and weekly plans, you'll see that we build on this information even more. Whoa, now we are up to the really more complex planning. Okay, we're down to monthly planning, all right? Now, monthly planning can be done either at the beginning of the prior month. So in other words, if I'm in the beginning of October, I'm going to be planning November, okay? But it can also be semesters worth. So like, because I did trimesters, sometimes I would plan 3 months, the 3 months of that trimester out, each one would have a monthly plan. Generally speaking, I only did that with stuff that I was really sure that we'd stay on track with. But certainly just doing this once a month, it doesn't take very long, and then you have it. Now, the main point of monthly planning is goal setting, okay? Figuring out what your goals are and then making a path to reach them. Why? Why do you need this? Because when those little things, those little XYZ things happen, we're not talking the big blowout disasters. We're talking the little ones. Maybe somebody gets sick, or we have to have an emergency run to the dentist and somebody isn't feeling very well because they had to have some wisdom teeth out unexpectedly. Maybe it's just an opportunity that came up for you to spend a couple of days doing something out of the house that was valuable, okay? Whatever it is, if you have a monthly plan to look at of what were our goals this month, what did we plan to accomplish, then you can stay on track throughout the semester. Here's an example for you. Suppose that you wanted to study a very specific aspect of Roman history, okay? And for that, you had lined out, maybe we're going to get into 4 books, okay, in this semester. So you chose one that you really wanted to cover for this month, all right? Suppose that you get blown out for a few days and you just don't stay in the same place, okay? It gives you the opportunity to say, okay, what was the goal? The goal is to use these 4 books in a semester to learn about this topic. So how about if we just skip ahead, or maybe just hit the high points of the book that we're in this month to accommodate the time that we did something else? Just saying, really a monthly plan is all about just keeping the goal in front of you, because you already know everything about the materials and the coursework. You just want to keep the goal so that you don't get mucked up when things don't go exactly the way that they should. And just look at all those lovely goals. That's right, because this is the monthly plan, right? This was actually the monthly plan for October of that trimester that we looked at in the last section on semesters. And in this, it's all about goals, because I really outlined things in the semester plan, right? I knew the days of the week. I knew the times we're going to do them. But this is where I need to have my goals so that if something blows us sideways during the month, I know, okay, either we got that accomplished or we didn't get it accomplished. So just looking at this real quick, let's look at math. Notice in the math, I didn't write down, okay, I want him to do lessons, you know, blah, 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 blah during this month. That's what I want him to complete. Nope. I put down the actual skills that he's working on at this time. The reason I did it that way is because if we missed some of those days of math lessons, which, hey, stuff happens, then could I look at this goal and say, hey, though, we did actually accomplish these goals, so we can move on? Or do we need to hang back and complete more pages? That was the perspective that it gave me. Some things, it literally was just reminding me of how I wanted to do them this month, like copywork dictation. Copy 1 paragraph or poem 2 times a week, write the same from dictation 1 time per week. Yeah, that's just reminding me, oh yeah, that's the way I wanted to do it, because we did 3 days. 2 of them would be copywork, 1 would be dictation. Down here in personal reading, read daily for a minimum of 30 minutes, okay? Again, that is reminding me of what I need to tell this child. Now, when you look at this, not everything has a goal written into it. Yeah, that's because some things, the goal was really not super specific or important. It was like, yeah, going to co-op. Okay, we would go to co-op. There's a goal. I don't need to write that down. Geography. Yeah, he was going to be working on geography, but for this particular month, I really didn't have a big overarching goal. My goal was more of a semester thing. So I just needed to know, be reminded, yeah, we got that in the plan. Now, can I go back and add things in here during the month if I suddenly think, oh, we need to add a goal? Absolutely. But this is really goals oriented. You're going to have the monthly plan and the semester plan handy at all times when we get into the next plan, which will be the weekly. Hey, big excitement. I feel like we should have a whole bunch of fanfare. We are up to the weekly plan. Yes. Woo! That is to say, this is your actual plan. This is the one that you plan weekly. If you can plan it a week ahead, that's awesome. But you know what? I always sat down on Sunday night after dinner. That was Mom's planning time. Dad handled bedtime. Do not bother Mom on pain of serious yelling, because that's when I got my planning done. So why do you need this weekly plan? Okay, this is your daily guidebook for you and your children. This is how your children stay accountable and know what's expected of them. This is how you know that you are moving forward and getting things accomplished, okay? I know people that will skip this step and try to fly by the seat of their pants. It just doesn't work. I'm just telling you. And you may know this from personal experience. You have got to have every day planned out. It's no different than, for me, knowing what we're having for dinner tonight, or at least having a weekly menu to say, I have everything on hand that I need to prepare these meals, okay? It's just like that. You need to have every day completely spelled out. How many pages of whatever reading? What subjects are we doing today? Are we doing them in the morning? Are we doing them in the afternoon? Literally, the more you can get into that weekly plan, the better off you will be. I know this sounds just nightmarish. For those of you that have multiple kids, if you have 5 or 6 kids, whoa, this sounds like a lot of planning. But the truth is that an awful lot of it carries over from week to week, and it's not really quite as bad as it sounds, but it is super important. So, enough talking. Let's really dive into this one, because this is the one that you will use the most, that you will refer to day after day. And I'll bet some of you right now are saying, oh my gosh, we're finally looking at a weekly plan. But you know what? The weekly plan, yes, that's really what you're working off of on a day-to-day basis. But with the stuff that came before this, now this weekly plan becomes really easy to fill out. Doesn't require a whole bunch of thought, because you already know your goals. You know what days of the week you're going to do them. You know how much time you want to devote to it. It's going to tell you, how many pages do you think you can accomplish in a given day. So I'm just going to kind of take you through this. Notice that I don't have anything filled in this. And this is actually for one of my other children at a different year. I didn't fill this in because I didn't ever fill in my weekly plan actually on the computer. I always just printed them off. This fits on a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And then I wrote in pencil what we were doing. The reason I did that is because I felt like I had more flexibility. I felt like it was super easy to erase something and write something else in. And even because I kept a bunch of these blanks handy at all times for that given, usually I would keep a month's worth of blanks handy. Then if I had to shove something over to a different week, wow, that's not hard to do at all. I just erase it right here and write it in over there. Could I have done this all on my laptop sitting at my desk? Absolutely. But you know what? During school time, I didn't have my laptop open. I didn't have it on my desk. I wanted to be paying attention to what my kids were doing. I wanted to be accessible. A lot of times I'd be working on, okay, what are we going to be teaching on tomorrow? How can I add to that? How can I flesh it out? So that's why you don't see anything filled in here. Now, could you do it on a computer? Absolutely. I have a friend who used to fill these out 6 months ahead of time, her weekly plans. Wow. Wow, that's awe-inspiring for me. I knew I could never do it. So I just tried to keep it more flexible. So what's in this? Yeah, I divided topics up here because we had daily subjects. These are things that the child studied every single day. It was just a given, right? I had other subjects that came in for today. These were subjects that were once, twice, maybe a week, maybe 3 times, but they weren't every day, right? And then I divided into group work. On this side, for my older children, I did write in what we were doing. For my younger children, I just put an X of, yeah, we are going to be doing American literature on Tuesday and Thursday. So they knew what was coming in our group time. I just find it really helpful to give my children information so that then they are prepared for what we're doing. And it's not some big surprise. Like, I don't like springing it's your turn to vacuum on you. Nope. I want to have that planned out ahead of time just a little bit because I don't appreciate having stuff sprung on me like that. I want to know what's going on. And then the last item I have down here, super important. This is outside activities. Could not live without this on the page because anytime we had something going on outside the house, it got noted down here. Dentist appointment, somebody's coming over for dinner. We have co-op on Tuesdays. Yeah, I needed that in here so that if for some reason our time set aside for school was starting to get a little wonky, I could look at the schedule and say, ooh, we've got something we have to go and do. So we're just going to have to stop where it is and call it good and figure it out for tomorrow. Or if there was nothing going on, I could say, you know what, we can extend today and try to finish this out. So this is the weekly schedule. This is the one that, yeah, you're going to refer to constantly, but this is not going to be hard to fill out because you have all that information coming in ahead of it, right? So there you go. And I hope that this has been helpful. And guess what? We're at the end, and that's it for today. But before we close out, I want to leave you with just a few little tips here at the end. The first is this. Plans are tools. Plans are not your enemy. Plans are not the things that are made out of concrete and will destroy your life. Just tools to keep you on track. That's all. Be sure to break your plans down into manageable pieces, okay? The surest way to fail at planning, because it's just too overwhelming, right, is going to be to take it all in one huge chunk. I've got to plan the whole school year right now, you know, for the coming year, and it's, 2 weeks before September starts, okay? No, you don't have to go there. Just break it down into pieces and then let those pieces keep you on track. Because remember this, you can use plans to keep the big picture front and center. That's right. If you are looking at the big picture, where are we going to be in a year? Where do we need to be 5 years from now? Instead of where do we need to be next Tuesday? Okay, you're going to prevent burnout. You're going to be a whole lot happier. You're going to be successful in your scheduling, and you're going to stay on track and feel productive. And that is a great feeling. So, thank you so much for watching this week, and you know what to do. If you enjoyed this video, hey, give it a like and subscribe. Yes, I'm still trying to convince YouTube that my videos are the bomb, right? And that they belong at the top of those little search results because I really want to get my message out to as many people as I can. Join me here next Wednesday for my next video, which will be, and it sounds a little controversial, free is a 4-letter word. That's right. We are going to look at the pros and the cons of things that come with that nice 0 price tag on them. So remember, here at Homeschool University, we have 3 key strategies. The first is to be practical. That's right. Use the common sense that God gifted you with. It does come in handy. The next one is to be purposeful. Pray with and for your children and for your homeschool. And the last one is really the easiest. Be positive, because you can do this, because you are amazing.
Hey now, take a step outside and seize the day.